First story. My daughter needed discipline, so I let her stepfather punish her. He used a belt until she pissed herself or passed out vomiting. But he did everything out of love. Now she has abandoned me, and I regret the way I treated her. Using a burner, because I really don't want this connected to my main. My husband 58M, and I 56F have a 17-year-old daughter from my first marriage. Her biological dad hasn't been in the picture since she was around 2. He moved out of state, then basically dropped off the map when she was 3. My husband came into our lives shortly after that, and we got married a year later. So technically, my daughter's never really known a life without him. But she's also never really accepted him as her dad. They've always clashed. From the start, he was strict and believed in a very traditional parenting style: chores, discipline, routines, manners. I thought it was fair, or at least manageable. But over the years, it's become obvious that my daughter felt controlled by him more than anything. She was a ridiculously picky eater as a kid. I mean, she'd throw a fit over the tiniest change. I always approached it gently, like asking her to just try a bite. But my husband didn't believe in that. He'd make her sit at the table for hours until she finished. Once, when she was about 7, she refused to eat the broccoli on her plate, and he told her she couldn't leave the table until it was gone. She ended up falling asleep at the table, crying. Another time, he made her reheat leftovers she hadn't finished the night before and wouldn't let her leave for school until they were gone. She missed the first 2 periods. She was so stressed, she threw up in the bathroom on the way out. To him, this was teaching responsibility. To her, it was psychological torture. I didn't agree with every single instance, and I told him to ease up sometimes, but I also didn't stop him when things got intense. At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing by standing united with my husband. Now I wonder if I failed her. Then there was the religious stuff. My husband and I are both very religious. We're not pushy evangelicals or anything, but we go to church every Sunday, we say grace before meals, and we read the Bible. My daughter, even when she was really young, didn't connect with it. She'd ask questions like, "Why do we have to pray?" And my husband would take it as defiance. He'd get this sharp tone and tell her she had to respect the Lord and stop being ungrateful. When she was about 8, she refused to say grace at dinner. He got up, grabbed his belt, and took her to her room. I remember her screaming behind the door while I just sat at the table in silence, my stomach twisted. That wasn't the first or last time he spanked her. The last time it happened, she was 13. She said something sarcastic during a family dinner, and he told her to watch her mouth. She rolled her eyes, and he exploded, dragged her upstairs, smacked her with the belt. I begged him afterwards to stop using corporal punishment, especially at that age, but he said, "It's how I was raised, I turned out fine." My daughter hasn't turned out fine, though. At least not emotionally. She's smart, stubborn, does well in school, has friends, and works part-time. But she's emotionally shut down when it comes to family. She eats most of her meals in her room. She avoids sitting at the table with us unless I make a huge deal about it. She refuses to go to church anymore. She doesn't call him Dad. She just refers to him by his first name when talking to her friends or teachers. A few months ago, I sat her down and asked her point blank, what is it that makes her so angry with him? And with me, too, because I know there's some resentment there. She told me she still has nightmares about the food punishments. That she flinches when she hears a belt unbuckle. That she doesn't feel safe being vulnerable in our house. She said, "You just let him hurt me. Over and over. And now you want me to pretend he's a good man because he never hit you." That conversation tore me up. Because in my head, I always believed I was doing what a wife was supposed to do. Backing her husband, showing a united front. I thought my daughter would grow up and understand that discipline comes from love. But she doesn't see it that way at all. I've tried explaining things. That her stepfather was raised in a household where discipline was strict and love was shown in expectations, not words. That he worked hard to provide for us, never cheated, never drank, and always made sure the bills were paid. But she won't hear it. Just because someone isn't a drunk or a cheater doesn't mean they're not abusive, she told me once, and that hit hard. And the worst part, the part that honestly made me sit down and write this post, was her reaction to his recent health diagnosis. My husband was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 3 weeks ago. It wasn't unexpected. He's overweight, doesn't exercise, and has a family history. I broke the news over dinner, telling her he'd need to change his diet and maybe start insulin if the numbers don't improve. She looked up from her plate, and I kid you not, her eyes lit up as she asked, "Does that mean he's going to die?" with a smile. I froze. My husband didn't say anything, just stared at her. She looked at both of us and said, "Well, maybe God's punishing him." There was dead silence after that. My husband got up and went to the bedroom without a word. I tried to tell her that was cruel, that he's still a human being, her parent, but she just rolled her eyes and said, maybe now he knows how it feels to feel powerless. I want to believe this is just teenage anger, that she's going to grow out of it. But it's getting harder to ignore the reality. She genuinely hates him. And she resents me, too. She will soon be accepted into a college out of state, and will move out in less than a year. I thought maybe the distance would help things heal, or at least cool down, but now I'm not so sure. This feels deeper than just parent-teen angst. This feels permanent. I've asked her to try therapy. She refuses. Says she doesn't want to unpack trauma for the benefit of the people who caused it. My husband has never apologized to her. He says he has nothing to apologize for. That she was a disrespectful child, and he kept her in line. I've tried to explain how his parenting may have done more damage than he realizes, but he won't hear it. I'm stuck between a husband who won't acknowledge the harm, and a daughter who wants him gone from her life completely. And I'm afraid I'm not innocent in this either. They no longer speak at all. If he's in the kitchen, she waits until he leaves before coming in. If I ask her to join us for dinner, she'll walk in, say, I'm eating later, and walk out. My husband has started making comments like, she's almost 18. She thinks she's grown. Let her see how the world treats her. He talks more about her as an outsider than as our daughter. He told me last week, if she leaves this house with that attitude, don't be surprised if she never comes back. Don't come crying to me then. He's also become more strict about house expectations, suddenly reminding her, my house, my rules, even when she hasn't done anything. He suggested she start paying rent once she turns 18 if she's still here. I told him that was unnecessary and would only make things worse. He told me I'm still babying her. She heard the argument from upstairs, and I saw her pack a bag that night and sleep at a friend's house without saying a word to either of us. She came back the next day to grab clothes. I tried talking to her in the hallway, and she said, I'm not coming back after I graduate. Then she looked at me and said, you had 14 years to protect me. Don't start now. That sentence hasn't left my head. Since then, I've been trying to talk to both of them separately. My husband thinks I'm taking her side, just because I'm asking him to acknowledge the past. Every time I tell him she feels hurt by how he parented, he responds with, I kept her fed, clothed, safe, and out of trouble. She's playing the victim just because she didn't like discipline. My daughter, on the other hand, thinks every attempt I make to explain my husband's upbringing or intention is me justifying abuse. She tells me, he didn't parent me differently. He scared me. He starved me as punishment. He beat me for not sharing beliefs I didn't even have. You told me to comply because it was easier than stopping him. She's not exaggerating her memories. I witnessed a lot of it. I just always rationalized it. I grew up in a similar environment, and I thought that's just how things were. But now I see she internalized it completely differently. I suggested family therapy. Both refused. My husband said he won't sit there and be lectured by some liberal shrink, and my daughter said, why would I go to therapy with the people I need therapy because of? I've even considered asking him to apologize, not because I think it would magically fix things, but just to open a door. But he flat out said, I'm not apologizing to a child for being a father. She recently told me her plan is to cut him off after she moves, and to go low contact with me, unless I can admit I protected him more than I protected her. I told her I always loved her, and did what I thought was right at the time. She said, intentions don't erase impact. Again, something that stuck with me. I thought when she turned 18, they'd at least tolerate each other. But we're at a point where she laughs at the idea of him walking her down the aisle. She made a joke to her friend on the phone last week, saying if he died during her freshman year, she wouldn't even come home for the funeral, and she wasn't joking. My husband heard her say that. That night, he told me he was done trying with her and said, word for word, when she walks out of this house, she walks out for good. If she wants to pretend I never existed, I'll happily return the favor. I'm terrified this will result in a permanent, irreparable split, not just between them, but between me and her. I love my husband. I do believe he thought he was doing the right thing. He is not a monster in every aspect. He's hardworking and loyal, and he's been a solid provider. But I can't deny now that he caused her lasting emotional harm. And I can't deny I was part of it by not stepping in more forcefully. I feel like I'm grieving a relationship that's still technically there, but already feels gone. I don't know how to move forward from here. Do I push him to apologize even if he doesn't mean it? Do I try to get my daughter back into therapy alone and hope time heals things? Do I accept that she may never forgive him and maybe me? Am I supposed to choose a side if things worsen when she leaves? What if she actually goes no contact? What if one day my husband is in the hospital and she genuinely doesn't care? Is there any realistic path where they can at least reach civility? Or is it too late? And do I need to accept the consequences of the way we handled things when she was younger? And if that's the case, how do I still keep a relationship with her without completely betraying my husband now? I want to fix this before she leaves, but I don't even know if there's anything left to fix. What should I do? Comments. Comment 1. This is what happens when cycles of old school parenting go unchecked. Your husband was raised in fear and thinks fear equals sign respect. You were raised to be compliant and think compliance equals sign love. Your daughter grew up being forced into fear and compliance without ever receiving emotional validation. To her, you are the person who watched the abuse and called it parenting. That's why her anger at you is almost worse. She expected protection from you and didn't get it. That said, there's still a path for you to heal your relationship with her. But it will not happen if you try to fix her relationship with him first. Right now, you seem more worried about the family's image and wanting everyone to be okay before she leaves. That reads as performative to her. Step 1. Own your part without excuses. A real apology looks like, I didn't protect you. I told myself I was doing the right thing, but I see now I hurt you. Step 2. Get therapy. Not for her. For you and maybe eventually for you alone or with her, but never with him right now. Step 3. Accept that she may never reconcile with your husband. He's not even remotely ready to take accountability. He's still viewing her as a defiant child instead of a traumatized almost adult. If you continue trying to push her into forgiving someone who won't even acknowledge harming her, you'll lose her completely. Focus on salvaging what you still can your own relationship with her. Comment 2. Your husband abused your daughter for years. That's not strict parenting. That's straight up trauma. Starving a kid until they throw up is abuse. Whipping a kid with a belt because they didn't want to pray is abuse. Forcing her to sit at a table for hours and making her late for school. Abuse. You weren't a bystander. You were an enabler. I'm not saying you didn't love her. I'm saying you prioritized your marriage over your child's safety. You say you thought she'd understand one day. But what she understood was that when she cried, no one came for her. That sticks. Now she's reacting with cruelty because that's the only power she's ever had in this dynamic. She was powerless her whole childhood, and now seeing him vulnerable gives her control. It's dark, but it's an outcome of what she lived through. If you want a relationship with her at all, stop defending him. Stop saying, he meant well. Stop trying to justify it. Say, I failed you. You were hurt. You didn't deserve that. I'm sorry. Forget about fixing their relationship for now. She doesn't owe him reconciliation. But if you keep doubling down on, he was a good man, she's going to cut you off too. He may have been a good husband, but he was a terrible father to her. Those things can coexist. You need to accept that. Update. I never expected so many people to respond or care enough to give advice, even the harsh stuff. A lot of you told me to stop trying to force a relationship that was already destroyed and face my part in it. I didn't. I pushed forward with what I thought was healing, and it blew up worse than I could have imagined. Things came to a head about a week after I posted. My husband overheard our daughter talking to a friend on speakerphone in her room. I didn't catch the full context, but I heard her say, I hope his leg gets infected and they cut it off. She was talking about my husband and his diabetes. He heard it too and lost it. He stormed into her room and demanded she apologized. She laughed at him. He said, I am your father. You don't talk about me like that. And she said, calm but hard, you are not my father. You were a man my mom chose. That's all. That sentence hit him like a punch. He yelled that she was grounded until she learned respect, which honestly sounded ridiculous given she's 17, works, and basically lives in her room. She told him he couldn't ground her because he was just her mother's husband. I stepped in and told her that was out of line. She snapped at me too. There you go again, protecting him first. We tried to sit down for dinner that night to discuss it, thinking maybe we'd talk calmly. Stupid idea. The moment Grace started, she refused to bow her head. My husband made a passive-aggressive comment about heathens under my roof. She slammed her fork down and said, I'm not praying to your abusive God or pretending to love the man who used a belt like a weapon. He shouted, enough. And she stood up and shouted back. I used to pee my pants at night because I was afraid of you, he yelled. That never happened, and she screamed. It did. I remember hiding in my closet, so I wouldn't hear you take off your belt. Here's where I broke. I don't remember her ever having nighttime accidents. In my head, I don't know if she made that up, repressed it, and remembered it wrong, or if I genuinely never noticed. I stood there, completely unsure if I had missed something huge, or if she had formed a trauma memory that may not be entirely accurate. And the fact that I couldn't tell wrecked me. I tried to calm things, but my husband doubled down and said if she couldn't acknowledge him as her father, She would need to move out once she turned 18. He said he was done raising someone else's bitter child. She smiled in this terrifying, broken way and said, "Thank you for finally saying it out loud." Then she walked out. She spent the night elsewhere again. The next morning, she came just to grab clothes. My husband didn't look at her. She didn't look at him. She told me, "When I'm gone, don't call me to force relationships or guilt me into visiting. If he gets worse, don't ask me to pray for him. If he dies, don't expect me at the funeral." After she left, my husband said, "She's her real father's daughter." I replied, "You raised her," and he said, "No, I tried to raise her. That clearly didn't work." He said that from now on, he will speak of her as your daughter, not our daughter. We haven't spoken much since. 2 days later was church. Mid-sermon, the pastor talked about forgiveness and wayward children. I literally started shaking and suddenly started crying uncontrollably. I had what I think was a panic attack. People noticed. An older woman tried to comfort me. I said out loud, "I think I let my daughter get hurt for years, and now I can't fix it." Some people pretended not to hear. My husband looked humiliated. After the service, he told me to get it together. Then I got hit with another punch. I got a call from our daughter's guidance counselor who said, "Congratulations on your daughter's full scholarship to top 10 university. I assume you already knew." I did not. She never told us. She apparently already filed FAFSA under independent status and arranged financial independence. I texted her asking why she didn't tell us. She replied, "Because that's my win, not yours. You don't get to stand next to me and act like you raised a success story when I survived this house by myself." That one hurt more than anything else. My husband's response to her college news: "Good. Then she can move sooner." That night he officially said, "If you want to keep trying with her, fine. But when she's 18, she's not living here unless she accepts me as her father. Otherwise, she's out. And if you side with her, you can go too." He wasn't yelling. He was calm, which somehow made it worse. He sees this as a boundary, not an ultimatum, but I know what it is. Now I'm stuck. My daughter is coming by soon to grab more things, and I don't know what to say. My husband plans to avoid her. If things keep going this way, I may lose one or both of them. I'm terrified I've already lost her permanently. I don't know if I should stay, leave, try harder to repair things with her alone, force him to face what he did, or accept this is beyond repair. I can't even tell anymore which memories are accurate and which are survival responses. I don't know how to move forward when everything I believed about being a good, solid wife and mother is crumbling. I know I'm probably going to be the villain in someone's story, no matter what I do next. I just don't know which loss I can live with. Comments. Comment 1. This is not a father-daughter conflict. This is a trauma survivor rejecting her abuser and the person who protected him. She doesn't hate him because teens are dramatic. She hates him because every time she cried, you stood next to him. Every time he hurt her, she learned that love means nobody comes for you. That memory about peeing herself. It may be inaccurate in detail, but it's 100% accurate emotionally. That's how scared she was. That's what her brain recorded, constant fear. The body stores terror, even when the mind can't track every detail. That doesn't mean she's lying, it means she lived in a state where something like that felt like it could have happened any night. Her smile during the argument wasn't cruelty, that's a trauma response called emotional detachment mixed with rage. She's done begging to be believed. He didn't lose a daughter. He never built one. You might still be able to salvage your relationship with her, but only if you stop trying to save face for your husband and start accepting that he was an abuser, even if he never saw himself as one. Step 1 is saying, "I am so sorry I let it happen." No excuses. No defending his intent. Just acknowledgement. Comment 2. I was your daughter. That moment when she told him, "You are just a man my mom chose." That was the moment she stopped performing daughterhood for you. She's not trying to be cruel. She's just done pretending she owes either of you warmth after growing up afraid of dinner. You keep clinging to, "He paid bills and didn't cheat." Cool. So do a lot of abusers. Feeding someone and giving them a house to be scared in doesn't cancel out trauma. You think being a provider is enough to earn fatherhood. It's not. You said you aren't even sure if her memory about nighttime fear is real. Let me tell you something. When you grow up terrified, whether or not you actually peed yourself, you felt like the kind of kid who would. That's the point. That's how scared she was. She got into a top school without you. She is already building a life where neither of you gets credit. You know why? Because you didn't guide her, you survived alongside your husband. And she had to survive alone. Your husband gave her trauma. You gave her silence. She might forgive you one day, but only if you stop trying to fix this marriage and start trying to fix yourself. If you stay with him and enforce his ultimatum, don't be shocked when she makes good on her own. Disappearing. Update. Everything collapsed. I faked a panic attack. I pretended to faint in my living room and texted my daughter's friend to tell her to come home quickly. I didn't know what else to do. She had blocked me, and I was spiraling. I convinced myself that if she saw me scared and vulnerable, she'd soften. She came. That's when I confessed. I told her I wasn't dying. I just needed her to come back. She didn't say a word. She walked out and hasn't come back since. 2 days later, my husband found out what happened. He was furious. Said I was hysterical and embarrassing, and that if I'd raised her better, none of this would be happening. He said she needed to apologize for everything she said about him before she ever steps foot in our home again. That night, I went through his laptop. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe I was looking for something else to blame. Maybe part of me already knew. I found an email he left open from a second account. It linked to a website I'd never heard of, not adultery, but something worse. It was a sugar baby site, and the inbox was full. Receipts, naked photos, conversations, payment records. His account was 5 years old. Some of them were just messages. Some turned into physical relationships. 2 of them were from women in our church. I didn't even confront him right away. I was frozen. I couldn't breathe. I copied everything to a flash drive, just in case. Then I went to church the next day, hoping for guidance. I didn't even know what I was going to say. But I pulled one of our senior women aside, someone I've known for years, and told her everything. She didn't comfort me. She didn't react with outrage. She said, "You need to ask yourself what kind of wife you've been. Men stray when they feel unheard." Then she told me to forgive him. That God forgives adultery when the wife is submissive. I felt myself leaving my body. I thought if I told the truth, someone would see what I've been carrying. Instead, I got told to carry more. So I went home. Waited until he came back from running errands. I told him I knew. That I saw everything. At first, he lied. Said the emails were fake. Then he told me the site was just fantasy. That nothing happened in person. I named names. He shut up. Then he said, "This is what happens when a man lives with constant disrespect." That was his justification. That my daughter and I had made him feel like a stranger in his own home. So he went outside. I told him I wanted a divorce. He laughed. Said, "You won't last a year without me." I don't know if he's right. The church won't support me. My friends won't take sides. Some of them have known about the affairs longer than I have. One of the women he was seeing, the one who sent the email, contacted me last night. She said she stopped seeing him months ago when she realized he was lying about being separated. She apologized, then said, "I still think you should have left him years ago. He talks about you like you're dead." I reached out to my daughter. I texted her. "You were right. He's been cheating on me for years. I'm sorry I protected him. I'm divorcing him." She responded with one line. "You only gave a F when you got betrayed." I told her I wanted to rebuild. She said, "You didn't want to rebuild when I was begging for protection. You wanted silence. Now that it's you who got hurt, suddenly you want connection." I asked her if she could ever forgive me. She wrote, "You weren't a mother. You were a security guard for a man who hated me. You don't get to switch teams just because he cheated on you." She blocked me again. I sleep on the couch now. I don't eat. I don't pray. The house is quiet and full of everything I refuse to see. The church won't back me. My friends won't pick a side. My daughter wants nothing to do with me. My husband walks around smug, like I'm just throwing a tantrum and I'll get over it. But I won't. I don't even know why I'm writing this. There's no advice to ask for. There's no one left to listen. I can't even claim victimhood without someone reminding me that I built this house of silence brick by brick. I just wanted to be a good wife. A good mother. A good Christian. I ended up a woman with no husband, no daughter, and no one left to believe me. I used to wonder why my daughter smiled when she heard he was sick. Now I understand. Comments. Comment 1. This post made me sick in the best way, because it's so effing honest. But let me be real with you. You don't have a daughter anymore. You had a child who survived your home. That girl? She begged for years. You gaslit her, minimized everything, said it was discipline, and defended the man who broke her down. You didn't just fail to protect her, you actively helped hurt her by brushing it off and choosing his side every single time. And now, when you feel the betrayal, you feel discarded. You are alone. That's when you want empathy. Your daughter's right. You're only sorry because it finally hit you. You're not grieving the daughter you lost. You're grieving the version of yourself that thought she was a good mother. Don't try to fix it. Let her go. She doesn't owe you closure, forgiveness, or anything else. You had 18 years. That was your chance. Comment 2. You fire in the rearview. F your husband. Let's start there. He's not just a cheater. He's a manipulative, abusive, controlling arsehole who destroyed 2 lives and walked away smirking. And your church? Nothing but a cult of silence built on shame. But let's not sugarcoat your part in this either. You chose comfort over your kid. Every time she flinched, you looked the other way. You thought being the calm one made you the good parent. It didn't. It made you the coward. Your daughter watched you defend a man who beat her for not praying, who weaponized food, who used God as a leash. And when you finally got burnt, you wanted her to cry for you. No. She's gone. You earned that. Now do something with it. Leave the husband. Leave the damn church. Burn it all down and start over. Not for her, you don't get her back. Do it so the next version of you doesn't destroy someone else. Second story. Fiancée claimed she deserved better, said her friends didn't approve of me, and kicked me out of the apartment and demanded I pay the rent. Then let her father call me demanding I give up the money in our shared account, as it's meant for his daughter anyway. Turns out she cheated on me. Now she is harassing my mother and ex. Toronto, Ontario. I'm not sure if this is the right place for this. Please forgive the long post. My 28M fiancée 28F has always been very controlling. She gets upset when I don't do things exactly right and often contradicts herself. She wants me to go out and be more social, but will call and yell at me when I do. She wants me off my phone but sits there on hers. She wants me to go to the gym but complains when I'm there too long. Honestly, I've been pretty love-struck, so I didn't really pick up on these things until everything fell apart. She has a bit of a drinking problem. Not that she drinks constantly, but when she does, she doesn't know her limit. With wedding planning and my busy work schedule to pay for the wedding, she tends to go out on weekends with her girlfriends since I'm home late anyway, and she enjoys it, so she deserves to unwind after a busy week. We typically do lunches and overnight trips when my schedule will allow it, and when I'm off in the evenings, we make dinner together to connect. She's nitpicked before, but I kind of wrote it off as her personality and always adjusted. She didn't want me running the washer dryer so much, so I went from twice to once a week. I work 2 jobs, and one is construction, so my clothes get dirty fast. She thought I had too many clothes, even though we each have the same storage space, so I donated the clothes she didn't like. She didn't like when I cooked late coming home from my second job event staff, so I would pick something up on the way home. I felt like this was regular couple stuff. All in all, she's been excited about the wedding and our new apartment, so I thought everything was good. Long story short, a few weeks ago she came home hammered, which is nothing new, but she got outright mean. I wrote it off as just being drunk. Sometimes she playfully teases me when she's drinking, but when she sobered up, she was still really mean. Her controlling attitude escalated until she was pretty much unbearable, and she ended up telling me she deserved better, and that she wanted to start over and I needed to leave. She started listing all these weird faults. I don't get along with her friends, whom I have never met, because they don't live in our country. I don't make an effort with her family. I'm very close to her brother. We game often together, and we have dinner with her parents once a month. And I'm too dependent on her. I do tend to put her first a lot, but I kind of thought that was normal. Then she basically told me to leave. I gave her some space and slept at my brother's a few nights, asking how he thought I should fix this. And it was then that he pointed out that she is kind of abusive. So maybe this was a good thing. I don't know. She's still the love of my life, and I can't wrap my head around all this. After a few nights, I went back because I needed more clothes, but also because I wanted to see if we could talk things out. She flat out refused and said her friends all agreed. My issue now is she is downright hostile. She is nice every so often when she wants something, but other than that, she is short, cold, and often annoyed. She basically said we're done, and she's keeping the apartment, and I need to figure it out. Then radio silence for a month, outside of a few drunk "I miss you" texts while I couch hopped. The last time I went over to grab clothes, she kissed me and basically said she wished things could be different and talked about the proposal and all the little things we've done together. So I tried to talk it out again, but she got super angry and kicked me out again. Now, she is telling me I need to pay half the rent because I'm on the lease. I spoke to the landlord about potentially removing me from the lease, but he said she has to agree, and she's refusing. She's refusing to agree to sign the lease over to someone else. What can I even do here? My brother pointed out that since I'm on the lease, she can't keep me from staying there. But the apartment is small. Being practically on top of one another, I can't see how it will work with her behavior. She's refusing to even be civil. I asked her to reconsider finding a new tenant, and she basically said she doesn't see why she should have to move just because I couldn't change. My brother said I could make a case for abuse to get off the lease, but I don't want to do that to her. She can be mean, but she's a nice person. And we've been together for 6 years. I just feel like that's a step too far. My mother agrees. I honestly don't think this is abuse. Is this abuse? They're really pushing that I go forward with this, especially after my brother reads some texts. But I feel like if I end the tenancy citing abuse, that's dishonest and could further upset her. Update. Things have kind of snowballed out of control. A day or so after I made the first post, my brother sat me down and kind of discussed a game plan with me. The first thing he told me to do was take the money I had put in a joint account meant for our wedding out, since she had access to that. And she was pretty pissed at me, not sure why, since she ended things, and I only recently found out it was because she cheated. I had been saving for over a year, sometimes putting in as much as $600 a month, and I also put my Christmas bonus in there. I don't know what I expected to happen after I did that, but things escalated pretty quickly after that. I had screenshots of how out of control the text got, but it won't let me add them to this post. The long and short of it was she was upset that I all but emptied the account, only leaving what she had contributed. She had only put a couple thousand in because towards the beginning of planning, she decided I should be the one to pay for the bulk of the wedding. Looking back now, I can't believe I agreed. Her argument was that I should have kept all my money in the account to pay for my portion of the rent, and that I had stolen from her. She kept calling me a thief, even when I showed her a screenshot of my banking transfers into the account, and that I only transferred out that exact amount. She only got more upset because I refused to talk to her in person or answer the phone so I could have everything we discussed in texts. She had her dad call me, basically telling me to do the right thing, which just meant to give her all the money I'd saved since it was for her anyways. When I refused, she started calling my mother almost nonstop. She would start calling her around 9 p.m. and sometimes wouldn't stop until 1 a.m. At first, I told my mom to block her number, but my brother said to just put it on silent, so we had a record of how often she was calling. One night she called my mom 36 times. My mother has been having some health issues since my father passed in June, so my sister has been living with her, and the calls obviously made my sister upset. And it's a whole thing now. My sister ended up filing a harassment report with the police, and we're hoping that will help me get off the lease if we can prove she's being abusive. She also called both my ex and her father, and told them if they had anything to say, it would go through her. I filled out an N-15 form, but the officer I spoke to about the harassment didn't seem convinced it would be approved, because he wouldn't classify this as domestic abuse. I guess I'll just have to cross my fingers and hope for the best. All this definitely showed me who she is. I didn't think I could fall out of love with someone so quickly. Thanks for all the replies to my initial post. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.